Won't playing to a click track completely ruin my groove? It'll take away all my soul. It'll make me play like a robot. A lot of drummers do worry about playing to a click track live with a band or even in rehearsals sometimes when you're with the band. And they worry that it just will make them play stiff and like a robot, and it's going to take away all their secret sauce and mojo and feel and groove. And if you spend some time working with that metronome, it really doesn't do that. Now, there are some situations in certain bands where perhaps it's not going to be your most beneficial approach. You know, if you're in a jam band who kind of really likes, let's push that chorus up just a little bit. It's okay if it gets a little bit faster. This bridge where it quiets down, it's okay if it gets a little bit slower. That's totally fine. Or if you're in a band that's just kind of jamming out, playing the corner bar, and you already have pretty decent time, you probably don't need to bring a metronome with you. But it certainly doesn't hurt even in that case. There are certain bands that I've played in where I always have a click track. With Fuzz Huzzi, I will usually have a click track in rehearsal, sometimes on stage, but not always. And with 8-Track Highway, I always will have a click track in my in-ears. Every single rehearsal, every single show, all the time. Because we're playing a lot of higher end gigs where people really expect the songs to sound as much exactly like the record as we can make them sound with the composition of the band that we have. And we have a lot of pieces. We're 6 members, so we can really cover a lot of the arrangements pretty accurately with that particular band. But the first thing that people are really going to notice is whether or not the song feels right. They might not necessarily know, okay, this song was at 120 BPM and they're only playing it at 114, or they're playing it at 126, but they are going to know this song doesn't feel the same way to dance to is what I'm used to from the record. So this is what I use. It's just a cheap little 4-channel mixer, and I take a line from a monitor send on the board and run it into channel 1 here. That's how I can hear the band, especially if we're miking up drums and amps and everything like that. I can get my own custom monitor mix into my in-ears. Then a lot of times in the 2nd channel here, I will just take a cable, one of those cables that's got like the 2 ends, and then it's got the small adapter on the other end. And of course I will have to add my iPhone dongle, and I can plug my phone directly into here. I use an app on my phone with my click tracks all programmed into it. So I have them all saved in a library. When I get the set list from the band leaders, I will add a new set list. I will put all the songs in order. So I have all of the BPMs, all the click tracks in order on my phone. I pull the first one up, and then all I have to do the rest of the night is just get onto my phone and hit next song, play that song, hit next song, play that song. My in-ears go right here, so they'll plug in there. I have a volume for the headphone out on this little mixer right here, so I can control how quiet or loud I want the music and the click track coming back to me. And of course I can mix them. If I want a little bit more band, I can turn this up. If I want a little bit more click track, I can turn this up. The best part is the Shure in-ears that I use, they cut out like over 20 dB of ambient sound when you have them seated properly in your ears. So the drums that I'm hearing aren't necessarily what I would hear if I was just behind the kit, but they're what's coming through my monitor mix. And since the ambient sound is cut by so much, I can actually have a reasonably low volume in my in-ears, way quieter than I would have if I wasn't using any type of in-ears or headphones or anything like that. So I don't get a lot of ear fatigue at the end of a night because I can keep the sound source coming into my in-ears really quiet because I'm not hearing a ton of sound from the stage. And then the other cool thing is, I can, on this third channel here, I could easily add in, if we were playing to any tracks or anything like that, if we had any drum loops, any different kinds of tracks that we needed to use, just plug them in right here, use that same type of cable if I needed to, no problem. Just have everything programmed with the click track, and then of course you have the main outputs here, so you have pans, so I could pan my click track off to one side, pan my tracks off to this side, and just take the right output from my little mixer and send that back to the front of house guy, and now he only hears the tracks, and I hear the tracks and the click, and we're in really great shape as far as that goes. So there's not a lot of extra things that I have to throw into my bag to facilitate me gigging with a click track, even if we're using a more complicated setup with backing tracks or drum loops. There are lots of different exercises that you can try to get better at playing with a click track, which is kind of a whole nother video, but I'll show you one right here, which is just to start with something really, really simple. Your most basic drum beat at a tempo that you're comfortable with, and then as you feel yourself really lock in and you're staying loose and you're still feeling like you have groove and a little bit of swagger and whatnot, you can start to add new things in until you're really going all out and not even thinking about the fact that there's a click track running behind you. Now, I'm not even paying attention to the click track at all. Like, it's just there. The way I like to think about it is the click track, unlike your guitarist, is just another member of the band, but they never lose time. So, unlike your bass player, they always know where the one is. So if you're playing with good time, don't let it distract you. Don't be nervous about, I got to play like a robot now. You don't. You just got to play with good time, and you'll automatically fall right into it. No problem. Just think of it like a band member. The long and the short of it is you should be really comfortable doing both. I'm actually going to try out with a new band tonight. Never played with them before. And after I got the songs they wanted me to have ready for this evening, and we talked a little bit to see if, at least on paper, it looks like it might be a good fit and worth our time for at least one rehearsal, I specifically asked them, hey, do you guys want me to be prepared with click tracks for the songs we're going to be going over tonight, or do you want to just go for it? Because I know that my time is going to be fine if they say, let's pass on the click tracks. And I also know that I'm going to be super comfortable if they decide that, hey, let's use those clicks and make sure everything is nice and tight and solid. And no matter how excited we are at a particular gig, let's have the song at the proper tempo. With that being said, I actually prefer, even at gigs, I prefer playing to a click track because you don't have that same sort of adrenaline going and pushing the tempos for all the songs. And I've found that a lot of times when you don't use a click track, your tempo range, your slowest song tends to be a little bit too fast. And then you get to your faster song, and maybe you're like, oh, this one's going to cook, so my adrenaline's going to get going. I better hold back on this one. So maybe your fastest song is even a little bit slower than you play it normally, or than you played it on the record. Or if you're in a cover band, maybe it's a little bit slower than the original song that you're covering. So, you know, maybe your slowest song is at 70 BPM and your fastest song is at 150. But by the time the adrenaline takes over and then you start to overcompensate for that, maybe your slowest song is at 82 and your fastest song is at 140. So it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're a bad drummer if you play to a click track. It doesn't mean that you don't have good time. And it certainly doesn't mean you have to play stiff and be a robot. It just means that you are taking care to make sure that no other external factors, a big crowd who's really into your band, or maybe it's a really boring night, or maybe the bass player had too much to drink and he wants to play everything too slow, you get to be the captain of the ship, and the best part about it is you are always right. So my question for you is, do you practice to a click on your own practice time? Do you rehearse with your band to a click track? Have you ever played a live gig with a click track, and which do you prefer? Go ahead and leave your answers to those questions down in the comments. And while you're over there, don't forget to hit that like button. Bam! Hit that subscribe button, and we'll be putting out another video tomorrow.